What's up, ADHD crew? This might be a bit of an inflammatory video, and I know a lot of you are probably going to disagree with me, but it's just my opinion and my outlook on things which might be a bit negative. I'm hoping that you can understand where I'm coming from. I'm not looking for any sympathy. I don't want you guys to tell me it's going to be okay and that you'll meet somebody. I'm really happy on my own, and I honestly think that I'm more productive when I am single. Am I saying people with ADHD can't have relationships? Absolutely not. I think people with ADHD love like no other because we tend to be very empathetic and compassionate, and we tend to just give ourselves more openly. We tend to wear our hearts on our sleeves. You know, even though I know a lot of ADHD people in relationships have a lot of support from their partner, I do get a lot of messages from people saying that they feel they have to mother their partner because their partner has kind of no structure, and they always feel the need to try to intervene with their behavior and their ability to function as an adult. Now, I don't want to fall into that trap, so that is one reason why I'm averse to relationships. But I think the biggest reason why I think I'm better off single as an ADHD person, my ADHD tends to make me have a low tolerance for frustration, and I am not all that good at controlling my emotions. You see, in a relationship, you're choosing to bring in another person's world on top of yours. In my opinion, you are choosing to obligate yourself an extra stressor in your life. And of course, we all know as ADHD people that we can get flustered and overwhelmed. So I think if you bring in a lot more obligations, you're going to get overstimulated, and it can cause you to have problems with controlling your emotions. It can cause arguments. And just things like RSD, if you haven't heard of RSD, it's rejection sensitive dysphoria. That can cause a lot of emotional issues in relationships in terms of you hyperfixate on negative situations. You might hyperfocus on something that they're saying, or you might overly worry about what they think. And also, I just feel like I have a bigger tendency to overshare. And in the early stages of dating especially, it's really kind of like this game you have to play where you sort of don't reveal all of your hand and you have to play it cool, things like that. I feel like if you overshare, you run the risk of losing somebody's attraction. So for the reason of being easily overwhelmed, I need my peace, quiet, and freedom. To me, I see relationships as a loss of control over the pace of events that I set up for myself. It means sacrificing my ability to consistently govern myself according to how I best see it in terms of my schedule and my living practices. So I feel like a relationship can really disrupt my routine and throw me off. And also, I don't want the obligation of having to stay on top of things according to somebody else's expectations. This is why I want to live alone. So an example of this would be if I leave my house in a mess, it doesn't matter. I can tidy it up at my own pace when I choose to. I'm not going to get nagged, and nagging will always exacerbate ADHD stress. That friction is always going to be a problem for me. So a message to the neurotypical people out there: it's not your job to fix your partner. While I appreciate the fact that you're working on your relationship, which is fantastic because people these days don't work on relationships hard enough and they give up too easily, just bear in mind that it's also not your job to be a therapist to that person or a parent. The person with ADHD has to want to help themselves. They have to want to get therapy, look after themselves, and practice good routines in order to improve. Things like rejection sensitivity has really made me develop a wall. I think it's caused me to shut people out and turn me into a sort of introverted recluse. And I'm very, very careful about who I let into my world. I'm extremely selective about who I'm friends with, who I talk to, and who I invest my energy into. I described myself as a kind of hard on the outside, soft on the inside, and it's only the most selective people that get the opportunity to see all of me. My emotionality can make me so vulnerable in relationships that it just seems like when relationships end, it's so much more painful to me. It's like it's devastating. Even if it's just a short-term relationship, I will hyper-focus on that for probably a year or more. So I just think like heartbreak is so much worse with ADHD. I think it's just a choice, you know, it's up to you what you want to do, but this has just been my experience, so maybe it might give you some insight into how ADHD can affect relationships.